Yesterday's strikeout prop was easy money with Anthony Kay, and we're going to talk a couple pitchers that I think you can target in prop markets as well. But first, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment below on some of the players that you're looking at that you want me to look at. This is going to be a daily segment Monday through Friday right here on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. We're going to go under the radar and try to talk about some of the players that aren't getting the attention, where maybe you can find an edge and some value in prop markets, sides, totals. We'll cover it all in this segment. So I want to start with Blue Jays Twins. A couple things going on here, and honestly, there's a couple of different ways you can look at this one. But I'm going to target the Twins and target Simeon Woods Richardson. So first off, and this came up on Total Bases very briefly, but having more time to think about it, the Twins are pretty good value on the money line here. Patrick Corbin is a guy that I've followed for years, and I thought he would he was in a good situation in Texas last year. New organization, much better situation than all of those years in Washington. But this is a guy that he's getting up there in age. I think 36 now. Had a great first half of the season, but started to sort of fade off. And he wasn't on a team until the other day. The Blue Jays didn't have him in spring training, having him compete for a rotation spot. They pretty much signed him off of his couch because the Blue Jays have been hit with insane injuries in their starting rotation. Just starting in the offseason, Bowden Francis going to miss this whole year. And then you have guys like Jose Barrios starting on the IL, Trey Savage starting on the IL, Shane Bieber starting on the IL. And then, of course, Cody Ponce goes down in his first start, a guy that the Blue Jays brought in he had such a tremendous year in KBO last year. And then he gets 3 innings into his season. He's probably done for the season. Call up Lazaro Estrada. He's not really a big league option. So this was more out of necessity than anything. And Corbin, he made one start at I think high A for the Blue Jays. So it's not like he's had much of a spring. Like you really don't know. I mean, he's a veteran, so maybe he's fine and maybe he's ready to go. I'm sure he was keeping himself in pitching shape, but you really don't know. All we have to go on is one sort of spring training, I guess you'd call it more of a rehab outing. And he's going to make the start tonight against a Twins team that's been red hot. So you can look at it that way. The Twins, obviously, they just come off of a very impressive sweep of the Tigers. So can they keep it going? I didn't think they were going to keep it going the last 2 days, but they did. So I don't see why not. On the other side, the Blue Jays, this is something that we've talked about for a week now on Total Bases. They are in a tough spot in the short term. Not only is the pitching an issue, but you have guys like Alejandro Kirk on the IL. Addison Barger has been out. Bo Bichette is now in New York, no longer with the team. Now he's a Met. So again, you're talking about looking at last year's World Series team, the team that came so close to winning the World Series, that's priced as a World Series contender this year, and doesn't look like the same lineup anymore. Similar, but some key guys that are no longer or not right now in that lineup. And then of course, your starting rotation looks a lot different, which wasn't the Blue Jays' strength in the beginning of the year, but certainly by the postseason, that rotation, Trey Savage, Bieber pitching well, was huge. And then you look at the bullpen, and Yimi Garcia is still out. So it's the list goes on for the Blue Jays with the injuries. And that is why I just don't know. I don't think Corbin minus 140, minus 150 is really worth the price tag. Now, I want to give a pitcher prop here. So I think the way I think is because the Blue Jays did beat the Dodgers in the finale of that series, and maybe they get it going, I will give you an alternative way to sort of look at this game if you're not just like, hey, let me take a plus 130 or whatever it is with the Twins. And I actually like this one even more. So Simeon Woods Richardson is going to get the start here for the Twins. he is not, he's, at this point, he's a serviceable big league starter. But, I watched his first 2 outings, 5 innings against the Royals, 6 and 2/3 against the Rays. I think he's going to at least, at worst, give Minnesota some length here. And that's one thing they really need, because the Twins, being as they swept the Tigers in a 4-game series, those last couple games were close. They really don't have a ton of bullpen that hasn't been used recently. And not that I don't think Minnesota would use their bullpen the way they have to if they're in position to get a win. But I think they're going to give Richardson the benefit, or Woods Richardson the benefit of the doubt here if he's throwing the ball okay, which he did in his first 2 starts. His strikeout prop is only 3.5, minus 135. So that means you could probably find a 4 down at closer to even money. I almost feel like he gets that by accident, just being in the game long enough. And then you look at the Blue Jays lineup, which they really haven't hit the last week. Wednesday's win was a 4-3 win. It's not like they had some big offensive breakout. And you look at the guys that haven't been in their lineup, yeah, he's probably getting 4 strikeouts here. If Woods Richardson makes it into the 5th or 6th inning, you have a hard time believing he didn't get at least 4 strikeouts. Like I said, if he's throwing the ball well, he probably gets it easy. If he's just surviving, he may get it by accident. That's a low number for a guy that's probably pitching into the 6th inning here. So I like the over on the strikeouts for Simeon Woods Richardson. And I do think Twins on the money line is worth a look. For anything that I'm actually betting, 9-1 on my last 10 baseball plays entering Friday. I did lose a heartbreaking KBO play this morning in extra innings, which is not the start to the day I wanted, but still, we had a 9-1 run going into today. I will have other baseball plays later today, and you would get all of those on my all access package, which is up on my page right now, as well as the double play, which means you can choose me and one other handicapper that's on the Total Basis show, myself, Tokyo Brandon, myself, Brian Leonard. It is definitely the way to go from a volume sort of value perspective. And you get a second handicapper that, may have a different look. You might get different opinions. You're probably going to get a bunch of different games. My AAA plays will be in there. Those are off to a very good start, and any KBO that I play as well. So check that out, the double play package, and just an all access if you want to go, market by market, just Major League Baseball, KBO, so on and so forth. The only way to get the AAA plays would be all access, any all access package that I have on my page. And those are over at WagerTalk right now. All right, let's go out west. Let's talk Mariners Astros. This is one where I'm going to focus on the starting pitcher for the Mariners. But I think the way I would ultimately just play this is to back the Mariners to win. It's going to turn for them at some point, but the 4-9 start, they just haven't hit. And I think you look at this team, they were a team that I had power rated 1 coming into the season. The pitching is outstanding. They simply have not hit, but I would be really surprised for a couple things. One, I don't think you're going to hold this lineup down forever. And 2, if there is a team that's equipped to start winning close games, 3-2 type games, 2-1 type games, it's the Mariners, because they have an elite bullpen and they have great pitching. And if there's a pitcher, one of the pitchers that I'm looking to target in the Mariners rotation right now is Emerson Hancock, who gets the ball here. So Emerson Hancock is a guy, you've probably heard his name before. He's been up kind of for 3 years now. He's had, 60 innings at the big league level in 2024, 90 innings at the big league level in 2025, but he hasn't really had success at the big league level. And that's why I think he's a little bit under the radar. So second half of the year last year, Emerson Hancock gets sent back down to Tacoma. And for the first time in his career, they put him in the bullpen. Now, this is a guy that was a first rounder back in 2020, 6th overall pick back in the 2020 draft. He was drafted to be a frontline starting pitcher. And there was never a thought to put him in the bullpen at any point during his time in the minor leagues. Go back to last year, the Mariners, they need a bullpen arm or two. And because he was the odd guy out of the starting rotation, the Mariners decided to see if Emerson Hancock could be that guy in the bullpen. Suddenly, he's out there throwing 98 miles an hour. Now, this is a guy that's typically 94, 95 on the fastball. When he is pitching as a starter, that's probably where he's going to sit, 94, 95. But the point is, I think he realized he could throw harder than he was throwing, that he had a little bit more in the tank with the fastball than he maybe thought he did trying to pitch as a starter. And I just think that stretch coming out of the bullpen, pitching out of the bullpen a little bit in the playoffs, I think that really helped him sort of like kind of rediscover his fastball, which coming into this year so far, obviously in a limited sample, only a couple starts, has a fastball run value on Baseball Savant of 99. He's essentially his fastball is grading out in the top 1% of big league starters. So, he's someone that I'm super high on. He's thrown the ball great so far, which is why, you could target his strikeouts. You could target his outs, but he's pitched so good in his first two starts, 14 strikeouts and 12 2/3. He's gone 6 innings or more in both the starts, that I don't know that you get the full value on those, because I almost think it's somewhat known now that he can go deep into games, that he is going to get his strikeouts. But I do think that he's still a little bit undervalued in the market because the Mariners have had a couple losses of late. The Mariners have not played great baseball. So I'm going to just look at Mariners on the money line here. It's minus 135, maybe minus 140, obviously shop around. But you get Emerson Hancock to start this game, an Astros team that just got swept by the Rockies and is what I think we've now seen they are. I don't think the Astros are a team that's going to break 500 this year. They're 6-7. They kind of had a hot start. I'm not worried. I don't think they just bounce back here. I think getting swept by the Rockies is just foreshadowing of like this team having bigger issues than people really are anticipating here. So I think this is kind of cheap. Mariners minus 135. You got Emerson Hancock. I don't mind Amai on the other side, but Hancock to the Mariners better relievers at home, T-Mobile Park, in a spot where the Mariners really need it, I think is a good way to look at this game. And then, Emerson Hancock strikeout over. If you can get a good number is fine. Outs over, if the number is reasonable, is fine. I think he probably goes, 5 2/3, 6. I didn't look at what the number of that is. But again, I think those are ways you can look at it as well. So for free picks sake here for the show, Twins, I will look at the Simeon Woods Richardson over 3.5 strikeouts, which is minus 135. And I will look at the Mariners to beat the Astros on the money line, minus 135 as well. Take any variation of those, apply it to your own handicap. If you're looking at exactly what I'm betting for today, head on over to the WagerTalk site. Check out my page, wt.buzz/AT, for single plays, packages, and everything we have available. Appreciate you tuning in. This segment will be back on Monday, but I'll be on with the guys tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Total Bases, Saturday edition. We'll see you guys then.